Welcome to MoggyBoxCraft, I'm Deborah, and today I'm going to be making sweet pickled beetroot from beetroot I grew in my garden. So I have got a sweet pickled beetroot recipe on my channel already, but this is the updated version. There's not that many ingredients, it's super easy to do, so let me show you what you're going to need. So in these pots are my homegrown beetroot. Between both of these pots there is 5.5 kilos of beetroot. The skins and everything are still on them and some of the tops, so obviously they will weigh a little bit less when they're all peeled and everything. So first thing you're going to do, pop your lids on your beetroot. So I've turned on the heat and turned it up. So I'm going to bring the beets to a boil and then we're going to let them simmer until they get soft. So if you want to see how I grew my beetroot and how I harvested them and what else I might be growing in my garden, I'll leave a link up above for you to check out. Woo, the beetroots are boiling. Put the lid back on, turn down the heat a smidge. This one isn't quite going yet, just nearly. Last year I boiled the beetroot for nearly 45 minutes. So I'm going to pop a timer on for 30 minutes and then we'll see how they're doing after that. When boiling your beets, it usually takes between 30 to 60 minutes for them to soften. You don't want them too soft, but you also don't want them too hard. This pot has been boiling for 30 minutes. This pot, the bigger pot, is about 20 minutes behind. In the little pot, the little beets will be done, so I'm going to try and fish them out. My beetroot is now in my basin. I'm just going to fill that with cold water. So popping some cold water in is just going to help cool them down a little bit faster, and that way they will be easier for you to peel. My beetroot is now cold enough to chop. I've got my chopper board, I've got a knife, I've got a random pan which is a frying pan to put my cut up beets in, and I've got a food waste container here. Get your beets, chop off the head, chop off the tail, and the skin should just peel off really easily. Pop that into the food waste. And it's as easy as that. And just carry on chopping until all your beets are done. Any imperfections, just pop them out. And your beetroot is good to go. That's all the beetroot I've got left to do. I've done all these beetroots so far, and this is all the waste that's come off them. Having them in cold water makes a massive difference for making it so much easier for that skin to slide off. See how easy that comes off? All my beets are peeled, ready for the next step. These are all my peeled beets. That is all the waste that's come off them. So this is now 4 kilos instead of 5.5. So now it is time to pickle the beets. So these are all my pickling ingredients. I've used cups for my measurements. I will give you the mils in the description box below. For the pickling, we've got 6 cups of water, 3 cups of distilled malt vinegar, 1 cup of barley malt vinegar, 2 cups of apple cider vinegar, 3 cups of brown sugar, and 2 teaspoons of salt. And that is what's in this mix. We're going to turn this on and bring this to a boil. While that's heating up, I'm going to slice my beets. So you can cut your beets any way you like, but this year I've decided to slice mine. So keep slicing all your beetroot until you're happy with how they look, and then pop them into the pan. Simmer this mix with the beetroot in for 5 to 10 minutes. So these are jars that I've saved over the year. Earlier today I did pop them into the dishwasher just to give them a proper thorough clean. So although they're clean, I want to make sure they're completely sterilised. I also want the jars to be hot for when I add the pickled beetroot in. I'm going to boil these up at the same time. The jars are bubbling away nicely. Turn them off, calm them down a little bit. So beetroot is bubbling away nicely. We just want that to simmer for 5 to 10 minutes. Pro tip, put your beets in a big enough pot. Unlike me. I'll remember that again for next year. The beetroot's been simmering for 5 to 10 minutes now. Don't let that happen. You want to fill your jars while they're hot. You want your beetroot to be hot and you want your jars to be hot, because that way when you put the lid on, the pop button will sink in and not pop anymore. Does that make sense? And that's how you're going to know you've got a good seal and they'll stay better for longer. Your glasses are going to be really hot. And your mix is going to be really hot. So while your jars are hot, add in your beetroot. So be really careful. Give it a little shake, make sure everything fits in nice. And when you've got enough beetroot in, fill up your jar with some extra liquid. Locate the lid that fits it. Pop your lid on nice and tightly and leave it to cool down. So here's all my pickled beetroot, and here is the mess I've made. It's everywhere. There was more on the floor, but I did have to wipe that up. Clean up this monstrosity, leave the beetroot to cool, and tomorrow we will do the final steps. Hurrah! The beetroot is pickled! So it's a few weeks later, and looking really good. Although I've got smudgy fingerprints all over the jar. We can't even see that. But the beets are looking good. Now we're going to decorate and label. So pickled beets are usually best at least a month after pickling. Bear that in mind. So I don't know how exactly long these keep in jars, but a minimum of a year. If stored well, maybe longer. Oh, I do love a pickled beet. So what are you going to need to label your jars and decorate? Some tissue paper, which I've cut into circles very roughly with a pair of scissors. Be careful if you're using the scissors. I think that goes without saying, doesn't it? Some elastic bands for holding your tissue paper in place, and some ribbon. I've just used leftover Christmas ribbon, just so it hides the elastic bands and everything looks a little bit prettier. You're going to need some labels so you know what the heck is in your jar, and a label to say the date you made it and your best before date, and a pen. So write your labels. Got your jars up the ready. So get your label, stick it on there so you know what's inside the jar. Flip it over. On the back I like to put a label that tells me when I made it and when it's best before. And just to make everything look a little bit prettier, I've got a sheet of tissue paper I have very roughly cut into a circle. Fold your tissue paper down, pop your elastic band over the top, something like that. Got some leftover Christmas ribbon. Place that where the elastic band is. Tie in a little knot. I might double knot it actually. Try and pop in a little bow. Cut off the extra ribbon. And you're done! 2 weeks since I've pickled these, so they're not quite ready to try yet, but trust me, they're going to taste amazing. If you've enjoyed this recipe, leave a like, leave a comment, share and subscribe! Of course, subscribing is optional, but it's very much appreciated. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you guys next time. Bye!